Hello and welcome to the No Pricks Allowed podcast with your host, Aaron Buchner from Cactus. I'm Wendy McConnell. Well, hello, Aaron. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Wendy?
I'm hanging in there, Aaron. I'm
You're hanging in there.
Yeah.
How's the weather in New Jersey? How's
You-
it heading out there?
We've got some sunshine, so that's a good thing.
That's
It
good.
brightens up the day a little bit. So, and seeing your face, of course, always, puts a little extra pep in my step.
Pep in your step to get things done as quickly as possible. Be done with me.
That's a good way of looking at it.
it.
So today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite subject, budgets.
Yeah, I know the B word, the
Oh, no.
one word no one loves, the
Oh.
evil B word.
Yes.
As we like to call in this phrase. But yes, no, I figured we needed to talk about budgeting. It was different. This podcast was originally supposed to be about life insurance, but given everything that's going on right now, it's like, okay, I need to talk about budgeting. Yes, we're filming this. This is early Feb. I think this goes out later in February if my dates are correct, but we'll still be within the realm of reality with things at least there. But like we're up here, it's crazy because of the tariffs and this tariff war and the 25% tariffs that were supposed to go on but have now been delayed for 30 days, but we still don't know if they're going to go on or not, which is
So it's still a big
mayhem.
concern.
It's still a big concern because we don't know. Like, we have no idea if these are going to still happen. They
Right.
may happen, they may not. No one really knows, because even when we talked about them originally, I think originally when they were brought up inauguration, yes, I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think he mentioned like 50%, but there was the fact of we battled back and said no, like 25% on our tariffs, and we're thinking, oh, all our costs and prices are going to go up. We're like, well, you know what? We're going to do 25% on you. So we did 25% on, but we've held these all off till the end of the month, which is a good thing. But so prices haven't increased as of yet, but in Canada, it's still hitting a lot of people because we're a scrappy bunch of Canadian. I don't know if you've noticed that about me,
Yeah.
Wendy. It's like Canadians, we
I
are
love my
scrappy.
Canadian neighbors.
we're scrappy, and there's a lot of just, you know what, we're not gonna buy certain things that come from the States. Like, I know a lot of people where it's like, no, we're not gonna buy like the LCBO. Like, the minute it happened in Ontario, our liquor stores here, the LCBO, they started taking off all US liquors. So all wine and liquor were taken off the shelves for them. Some have decided to put them back on in certain LCBOs. Others are like, no, we're not going to do it. We're going to keep that stuff off the shelf and start promoting Canadian products. But it's still expensive. Like, we have products here that are good, but they're a little bit more than what it could be from the States. So budgeting is a big issue. And then we're dealing with these potential tariffs that could be coming in when we start talking about products that we do get from the States that come in, like orange juice and fruits and vegetables that may come from the States. Prices are going to start going up. So budgeting is something I figured, you know what, we need to talk about it, where people kind of go wrong with budgets, what people can improve in their budget, and when they're starting to actually create a budget, what should they start doing?
Okay, so this is really good because we're going to create a budget that's going to allow us, not wiggle room, that's not the word I'm looking for, but an allowance for if these tariffs come into place and things get more expensive.
Yes, I would say, because things could potentially get more expensive. And we've all seen that with, well, just inflation the last few years.
Yeah.
And the cost of everything has gone up over the last few years. And I know it's pressure on everyone, but it's creating that budget now and understanding, okay, where is your money going will help figure out, okay, when prices change, where do I need to put money? And I think one of the first things when we do talk about budgeting is, a lot of budgeting is prioritizing what you spend. A lot of people look at it and say, okay, here's my money, and I just spend it without thinking, okay, well, what's more important? And we've talked about this before, and it's always about prioritizing what's the most important things you want, and where do you want to spend money, what's important to you, and that's where money should go first. So when these tariffs come in, and you possibly are going to be spending more on groceries or even electronics or just basic goods, we need to start figuring out, okay, do I need this or not need this? Do I need, as bad as it is, the name brand, or can I do the no name brand stuff that tastes just as good? Oreos, I like Oreos. They're better than the no name brand Oreos. Those can't compete. But
Priorities, Aaron.
you make compromises.
Exactly.
Priority. That's it. I'm
Yeah.
priorities. Like if I'm getting Oreo cookies, I'm getting the real deal. But everything else, I can deal with like the no name chips and other things like that. I'm okay with that type of stuff.
Yeah, I find that I've switched over, and for the longest time I didn't, because I didn't think they worked the same, but now I'm convinced that they do, is pain relievers. I used to always buy the name brands, and now I'm like, you know what? I'm going for the generic. They're like a couple dollars cheaper.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's one area where I'm like, yeah, okay, let's make the switch.
Yeah. Oh, I've made the switch on that stuff too. I'm like, so yeah, some of those some of those name brand stuff are expensive.
Oh yeah.
So it's nice to have. But so yeah, prioritization is one of them, and I think the other one is when people look at budgeting, is people focus on a budget as limitations on what they can do. And I think that's another thing which kind of plays hand in hand with the prioritization, is budgeting is not about restricting. It's not about cutting back on your lifestyle and not allowing you to do certain things. It's just being smart of where do you put the money and what is more important to you on an ongoing basis. And if things aren't important to you, well, then don't spend the money on it. Like put it on the things that make more sense to you, that bring you happy, that bring you joy, that reduces your anxiety, allows you to sleep at night. Spend the money there, not on the things that's like, you know what, I can live without it. It's not a big deal. Like I've cut back in beer in my house, which is insane. I used to always have like 24 cans of beer in my house. It's like, no, I got like 3 cans and that's about it. And I've cut back on that stuff. Cause I'm like, it's nice to have, but do I need it? Not really. So I'd rather put the couple bucks, because also it's expensive nowadays, towards other things, such as trips to Europe with my kids in the summer. It's like, oh, I got to save money for that. So less on here, more on there.
Yeah.
Is where things go. The other one where I think a lot of people goof up with a budget is they do it too much of an ad hoc budget. So when they're looking at it, they're doing a mental calculation of what they think things cost versus what they actually cost. Like if I look at you, Wendy, and say, how much money did you spend on groceries last year?
Last year?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. I could give you a weekly estimate, but not a yearly estimate.
Okay, so give me the weekly estimate. Like, but what is your weekly estimate on groceries you spend?
It could be anywhere from $75 a week to $120 a week.
And how confident are you in that number?
Depends on if there's a holiday.
If I was to say, how much did you spend?
If there's company coming, I mean, it depends on a lot of things.
Exactly. So I think a lot of people ad hoc and go, well, I think I spend on average, like same thing, 75 to 120. I'm like, it's a wide range of money. Like you're talking $70 almost differential between the two. Right. So that's a wide range to say, oh no, I'm okay. Like, because people think in their heads, like, I'm okay. Like my money's good. I can still invest and I can still go buy this because I only spend $75 on groceries when they really spend $85 to $90 on groceries every week, depending on things. It's like, well, that's a big swing when you're then buying something else that now has offset the whole budget.
Right.
And the ad hoc thing is, and even I remember it when I first went like deep dived into a budget, and we had to, because we were cut down to one salary with our job. And it's like, okay, we had to cut back. We went straight to a cash budget, which nowadays is insane because everything's budget and changed, but we went to a cash budget. And I did the same thing. We didn't really know how much we spent on things. Like we knew, okay, this is how much money we could spend on gas and groceries and clothes and entertainment. And we just had this pot of money. And I think it was $1,200 a month. And that was it. That's all we could have. But we really didn't know. And all we did is we'd go grocery shopping. We'd take money with us and we'd spend it. And I think what happened is at the end of that first month, we had $20 left for like the last week for groceries. So it's like, oh, well, it was like, okay, we got to buy bread, milk, lunch meat. And that was it. And like, that was it. That was all we could afford. But it quickly opened our eyes of how much do you actually spend on things rather than I think I only spend this much. So ad hoc is a big issue with people when they think, oh, it's somewhere within this range, and it's really not.
So my biggest fear with going with the cash method is that, okay, I'm gonna assign myself $100 to groceries for this week, and I take my $100, and do I have to go there with a calculator and all? Like, I'm always afraid I'm gonna get to the checkout and they're gonna be like $112, and I'm gonna be like, oh no, can you take this off? Can you take this off? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't want to have. It's a lot of work, Aaron.
It's a lot of. I just like the fact you're like, I have to go to the grocery store with a calculator. There's a calculator on your phone, right? Like, just.
But I don't want to be walking around talking. It's just, you know what I mean.
No, and it does, and you have to think. Yes, like even when we did it after that first month, where it was like we realized, oh wow, we're spending more than we actually did, and then we look back at the receipts and go, wow, it actually adds up pretty quick. That second month when we did it, we did that mental math in my head of like, oh, it's this. Like, well, I mentally did it in my head, but you can do it with the calculator as bad as it is. It's like, yeah, add it up. And but you also start looking, go, do I need this? Like, even when you're concerned about, oh, okay, you have $100, you're going to pause and go, do I really need these bags of chips? Like, I really want them. They're good, but it's like, can I afford them? Because I still have to get orange juice, and I still need to get eggs, and I still need milk, and I still need bread. Like, I need these other things. Do I need the chips? And that becomes the prioritization, like back to the same thing. It's not about getting rid of the chips, but.
Here's another question. When you say something's on sale that you buy a lot of, you buy it almost every week, and there's a sale, and do I stock up on 6 of them because they're on sale and I won't need it for the next 5 weeks, but that's going to throw the whole budget off? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we do that a lot. We'll stock up on stuff, but that throws off the budget.
Yeah, we do it too. Like, well, we do it because we have 2 gigantic freezers in our basement because we've got 2 kids that are growing, so we cook a lot. So we buy when meat goes on sale. We don't just buy like a package of meat. We buy like 4. I'm one of those people like go up, and I'm sure people get frustrated when they're behind me and I grab 4 big things of meat, and they're like, oh, there's nothing left for us.
Just took all the meat.
I'm that person. No, I am that person. But yes, and I think that'd be another thing with budgets is you can set guardrails because things like that will happen. So when something goes on sale that you would normally buy, and it's a good price because okay, if I do buy this, it's going to offset next month's groceries or the next few months, and you're going to end up saving money. Yes, you add that guardrail of okay, but then it's that knowing, okay, I've now spent a little bit more on groceries this year or this month or this week, whatever it is. The next month, I'm going to spend less. So now it's just moving, kind of that constantly moving the money. I don't like strict budgets. I'm against it. I don't like it. Like, even when I did cash, we never had a strict budget of like, this is how much we spend. It was just, okay, it was prioritized where are we spending the money. And we just looked at it and said, what do I have left? Where like, oh, if I go out for dinner, where we may not have enough money for groceries. So, okay, well, no dinner this time. We're going to do groceries, but we'll take that extra money for next month. And next month we'll go out for dinner and we'll make up for it then. So I'm a very much a fluid back and forth with it, but you just have to be cognizant of, yes, your numbers, how much you have, what's prioritizing, what's a priority to you in terms of your budget and how you live your life.
Okay. Because sometimes, we have coffee. My husband likes this particular coffee. It's like $8.50 for like a bag of it, but sometimes it goes on sale for $4, and I'm like, buy the amount that you can, buy 4 of those babies.
Yeah, no, we do. Well, we like, I got to do, actually it's Wednesday, so yeah, I got to look through the flyers today, and we do the same thing. Like, I'll go through the flyers and go, what's on sale, and I'm like, ooh, that's a good deal. Yeah, and like, I know we're gonna use it, so it's like, okay, I'm buying same thing, like coffee. Granted, like $8 for coffee here, when it goes on sale, it's almost, I think it's $13 now for a pound of coffee.
It's crazy.
So good for you. Like, but that's also the change and the currency exchange there between the two. Right. But we do the same thing because normally it's like, it's $22 or something like that. So when it drops to 13, it's like I'm buying like 6 bags of the stuff.
Yeah, and we have I don't know if they do this, but they'll put a limit on it. Like, They'll say
Yes.
you can only buy 4 of them.
Yeah, they'll do it in certain things. We've gone and they've done it on certain things. They did it with eggs for a while because that was a crazy thing. Or they do it a lot with butter. That's the one thing I always find here. When butter goes on sale, they always put a limit of like 6 on butter. I don't know who's buying over 6 pounds
Bakers
of
buy
butter.
butter.
But
Right.
and those are kind of the ways that budgets, I think people kind of goof up on budgets, are those things that they limit themselves too much, that they're restricted, so they end up hating it because it's like it doesn't feel restrictive. It's they're ad hocing, so then they're doing like I did, where I wasn't thinking about where I was spending before you knew. It's like, oh shoot, I've overspent how much I actually thought I had available to me. I wasn't thinking about the long term. They don't prioritize, so they're spending money on things just because they used to, which was the case of like that's what we found with our groceries. We were just buying this stuff because that's what we were used to, because we had the capabilities that we could buy the chips and the brand name cookies and all these things. But when the money was cut, it's like, okay, do I really need chips and cookies in the house? Like, do I need it? Yes, no. Like, it's that question thing. The other one is, and then no guardrails. So kind of giving that flexibility to a budget is the other one. It doesn't have to be, this is the budget, don't spend. It's, you can move it because it's so much in a year. It's okay if you spend a little bit more on one thing in a month and then switch it over the next month. So give those guardrails as well. And I think the last thing is just no fun. A lot of things is, it's people think budgets are, you can't do anything. It's like, no, you can go have fun. It's just, guess what? You have to give up some, you may have to give up something else for that fun. And is it worth it to you in the end? And granted, there's tons of free fun stuff or very cheap fun stuff you can do that is very easy. Like right now for us, because it's wintertime and we're just we're above a lake. It's like we take the kids skating. Done. Like it's free. I don't pay anything. We go down to the lake, they skate. Like, great activity for them. I'm not taking them to like movies and dinners out and all this stuff. Like, we're going skating. They're happy because they come back, and then we have to buy marshmallows for the hot chocolate. But that's about I think we're okay. That's a couple bucks that spreads out over a long time.
Right.
So we're okay with that one. Like I said, I'm more fluid with the budget. I don't like a strict budget. I think in the end, there's really no wrong answer to what a budget looks like, unless it's a negative. In the end, I think is really it. That's the biggest thing. It's like, as long as you're not spending more than you have, there is nothing wrong. You can set it to be however you want it. Put more on groceries, less on fun, more on having fun, less on groceries. There's really no wrong answer. I know people like to say, oh, you shouldn't spend too much on a car, or you shouldn't be spending so much on this. It's like, but it's whatever's important to you. And as long as it fits within your budget, doesn't matter. There's really no wrong answer to how to set up that budget. I'm not going to say you should only spend so much money on a car or so much on groceries or entertainment and all that. And like, it's your life. Live it the way you want to and enjoy it. Just don't spend more than you actually have. That's the rule. It's like, do not spend more than you have. You can spend it all, but don't spend more than you have.
And that's the most important rule, and the one that so few of us follow.
Yes, and that's where people get into problems with everything.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of people are like, okay, great. I've now said, okay, don't spend more than I have. These are the things these are where people goof up. It's like, okay, well, how do you actually create a budget? I think is where a lot of people then have a struggle, because I get clients who come in and I say, do you have a budget? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay, you don't have a budget. Like, this isn't good for my standpoint, because it's like, I'm worried about they're going to overspend or possibly overspend 1 month versus the next, especially when they're trying to reach their financial goals. We need to make sure the money's there to reach those long-term and invest. So it's like, you need to have a budget. And this is where people I think in the end, don't like budget, because it takes legwork here to do it. And a lot of people don't want to do work, and I get it. I feel you. But if you're going to start with a budget, the first thing is cash flow. You got to figure out, okay, how much money is coming in. So know exactly from what is your income from your jobs or side hustles or whatever it is. What is that income that comes in? Is always start with that, of what is coming in. And then I always start with, the first thing you should know is, what are all your fixed expenses? What is that? What are those bills you have to pay on a monthly basis? Such as your car payment, your house, your electricity, your water, your insurances, like what are all these things you need to have just to live, I guess, and maintain your house, maintain your car, keep those things. What are those fixed costs that don't change on a regular basis? And write those down first and see how much are all of those bills that you're paying on a regular basis compared to what is coming in.
Right.
And it might be an eye opener of how much you're spending on certain things. That start there, especially when you're creating a budget. If you see issues of, wow, I'm paying a lot for my cell phone or my car insurance is a lot, see if there's ways to lower those right off the bat. Like, you need them, you have to have them, focus on that. And then after that, it's okay, what is left is your life. Like, that's the money that's left. And that's where you have to start thinking, okay, where do I put this money? How am I going to spread this money between everything I want to do the most cost efficient way? And of course, yes, you need to put money on certain things first rather than other things. Like, yeah, you need food right off the bat. Like, it's realistic, we all kind of need it. So it's like, yeah, a lot of it's going to go towards your food. And then there's probably going to be personal care because we need toothbrushes and deodorant and shampoos and all that stuff. It's like, look, put it towards that stuff first. And then it becomes that prioritization factor of, even in terms of how much you're spending on groceries, do you need certain foods versus not? Do you need the name brands versus the other stuff? Can you live with not doing as many frozen meals and maybe you start cooking more? And little ways to save little bits of money every place. And then what you do is at the end, it's okay, based on what's coming in, what's going on my fix, what are my variables, you make sure that goes to zero, at least. At least equals zero. We hope it's a positive. Like, aim for a positive is great. But I'd say if you're starting out, aim for zero first. Because if you're someone who's never budgeted before, and unless you go back through your last year's worth of statements, like unless you pull out, which is the real way you should do it, is pull out your Visa, your debits, all your charges and look and go, where did my money go all last year, to give you a good indication of where you're spending money, which I think everyone should do, but very few people do it. That first month, you will probably be wrong on your budget. Yeah. Guarantee you. I was wrong when we did it. We overspent. Like I said, we had it, and we had that $20 for milk, bread, and lunch meat to survive the rest of the week. So you're going to be wrong. But then that's when you start adjusting. You start looking at those numbers of, okay, where did my money go? Where was I actually spending it? And look at those receipts. Because that was the other thing we did when cash. It's like, we did do the spending the first time without actually calculating, but then we kept all the receipts, and then we looked at it and said, wow, we spent a lot more here than we thought we should have. I only planned $500 for groceries, but wow, we spent $680 on groceries. What did we do? And then you step back and go, whoa, what did I buy? And that's when you start looking at what those specific items were and go, why did I buy this? Like, why did I do this? Did I really need this? I bought this, but we never used it. I threw it out. Or I bought like these fruits, and I bought this bag of salad mix because I was going to be healthy and I was going to eat it, and it sits in the fridge, and then you never eat it and you end up throwing it out. And you have that second class of like, okay, maybe I don't buy that bag of lettuce next time, or maybe next time it's like I make sure I eat it when I'm going to buy it. Right. So I think that's the thing. It's like, when you're creating the budget, you can do it, and you can do it as complicated as you want. If you're a big spreadsheet person, make a spreadsheet. There's tons out there. There's tons of templates out there you can find online to create one. If you don't want to do Excel spreadsheets, keep it as simple as possible. Like, do it cash method, do it, and just do a very basic, rudimentary, after the fact, write down what you have and keep it very basic. You don't have to break these things down into minute details unless that's what you want. You can group it into big things. Just to make life easier for yourself. But find what method works best for you so that you're not dreading budgeting on a weekly basis or a monthly basis and looking back at the numbers. Because if you're going to hate it, you're not going to stick with it in the end.
Yeah, I agree. So like you said, I'm not a spreadsheet kind of gal. So I just have to keep a list, is what you're saying? Or
keep a list. Like, I'm not a spreadsheet, like crazy it is, I work in this game. I'm not a spreadsheet person. We still don't really have a budget, but I know mentally what I can spend. So, and since we put everything on our Visa cards, as well. We want miles and go on free vacations. We put everything on there, but I keep track. Like I'll still go in, I'll look and go, how much are we spending? How much is there on a regular basis? I'm not looking at just at the end of the month. I go on once a week and I go, okay, how are we doing? What is the visa at right now? Okay, we spent a little bit too much. Okay, we got to cut back. Or then I talk to my wife and go, hey, we got to cut back a little bit. We're spending a little too much here. I know the ballpark figure of what we can spend after all our bills. This is how much money we can spend. And I just make sure we don't go over that.
Okay.
On a month-to-month basis. And that's the goal. And that's what works for me. I'm not a big spreadsheet. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, but if it's, some people love it. If it's you, do it. I have clients who love it. They have spreadsheets. They send me spreadsheets once a month when we talk budget. And it's like, okay, good for you. Like, this is insane.
I wish I loved it, but I don't.
I'm like, this is great. It helps me. I look at it and go, this is great. Like, I know the money's there. They're enjoying it. They enjoy doing it. It's something they love. Don't be me wrong. I'm not going to tell you not to do it in the end.
Yeah. So this has been good. So that, we don't have to hate budgets. And you've taught us, that, we can go about it in a reasonable way that we can still enjoy a little bit of life.
Yes, I'm a big believer in this should be fun. Like, this stuff shouldn't be tedious and drag on and make you dread. Like, I hate doing this. It's like, because no one sticks with anything if they hate it. If I hated coming and podcasting with you, Wendy, I wouldn't be here
I'm here, but that's right.
I'm a you're paid. You remember the difference between the two.
All right, Aaron. So yeah, what are the main things to keep in mind?
I think the main things to remind are your budget doesn't have to equal zero. I mean, that's the first thing. It's like, give yourself flexibility. Don't worry about trying to make it equal out perfectly to zero. Give yourself that little bit of buffer room so you're not stressing out about how do I spend this exact figure every month. Give yourself wiggle room. Don't be too restrictive on yourself. If you're just starting a budget, don't immediately restrict everything, because then if you're taking things away that make your life happy and things you enjoy, you're not going to stick with it, because you deprive yourself of it, then you're going to want it and things are going to get worse. Ease into it. Take little steps back. If you're just trying to save for investing and want to cut $50, or like your goal is to get to like 250, start with $50. Take $50 out to start investing, cut your budget down by $50, see where things land, and then slowly scale back. And don't forget to have the fun. Like, that's what I look at. Like, add the fun things. Do things that enjoy you. You don't have to take everything out of life. This should be fun. You should enjoy this stuff. It shouldn't add anxiety and make you not sleep at night. Then that's not fun. Then don't do it.
Okay. So, Aaron, if people have questions and they want to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
Absolutely. So my website's always the easiest way at prickfree.com. And I'm on the social medias. I'm all over Threads really a lot lately, but I'm having fun with that one. A lot of brain dumps of stuff. So you can find me on Threads under Aaron B. Cactus on there as well.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. And thank you for listening today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the No Pricks Allowed podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.prickfree.com or give us a call at 613-876-9899. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Cactus. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. The contents of this podcast do not constitute an offer or solicitation for residence in any other jurisdiction where either Aaron Buchner and/or Sterling Mutuals is not registered or permitted to conduct business. The opinions expressed are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Sterling Mutuals, Inc. Mutual funds provided through Sterling Mutuals, Inc. Commissions, trailing commissions, management fees, and expenses all may be associated with mutual fund investments. Please read the prospectus carefully before investing. Mutual funds are not guaranteed. Their values fluctuate frequently. and past performance may not be repeated.